The landing. The spaceship Nova Ray moved slowly above the sky of a new planet called Alluring. This planet had oceans shining like silver and forests that glowed even during the day. The crew inside the ship looked out with wide eyes and curious minds. This was not just another world. This was a planet where real alien life was detected for the first time. Commander Ray stood near the front window and gave a quick signal to his team. His voice was calm but firm. He had led many missions before, but something about this world felt different. Next to him stood Mia, the team's lead biologist. She had a scanner in her hand and kept checking the readings. Her heart was racing. She had spent years studying alien possibilities, and now she was finally here. Ben, the pilot, leaned back in his chair. He was the relaxed one in the group, always cracking small jokes to keep the mood light, but even he was quiet now. The moment felt big. Leo, the language expert, was already wearing his translation headset. He kept checking his notes and symbols, ready to decode anything the alien said. The ship slowly landed in a flat open area. Tall blue plants surrounded the space like gentle walls. There was no sound at first. Then from a distance, a group of tall figures began to appear. They walked gracefully, their bodies covered in long shiny robes that moved like water in wind. The humans watched closely. These were the first living aliens humans had ever seen with their own eyes. The aliens came closer, forming a wide circle around the ship. There were about 20 of them. All seemed female in shape, though their faces had no clear features like humans. Their eyes glowed softly, and their skin shimmered in the sunlight. The humans stepped out slowly, one by one. Commander Ray led the group with careful steps. Mia followed, holding her scanner close. Ben looked around, amazed. Leo kept watching the aliens for any hand signs or body movements. No one spoke. The air was heavy with silence. Then something strange happened. The alien females looked at each other. They raised their hands, touched the edges of their robes, and in one smooth movement, lifted them above their waists. It happened so quickly that the humans just froze under the robes. Strange glowing patterns covered the aliens' upper legs. The lights shifted and pulsed like living tattoos. The humans had never seen anything like it. Their mouths opened, but no one said anything. Ben's eyes widened. He turned his head fast, trying not to stare. Mia blinked hard, confused. Leo dropped his notebook. Commander Ray stood still like a statue. For a moment, no one knew what to do or say. Then Mia whispered. Without thinking, was that their way of saying, hello? Leo checked his headset. No sound was coming from the aliens. No words, just that strange, shocking action. The aliens slowly lowered their robes again, standing still with calm expressions. Mia walked a few steps forward. She raised her hand slowly. The aliens did not move. She smiled, trying to be friendly. One of the aliens tilted her head, then copied Mia's hand wave. It looked like a mirror reflection. A small, soft laugh came from another alien, almost like a musical sound. Ben whispered from behind. Maybe we just walked into the weirdest greeting party in the galaxy. Commander Ray took a deep breath and stepped beside Mia. He looked at the alien who waved back. He placed his hand on his chest and gave a small nod. The alien watched him and touched her chest too, as if copying again. There was no sign of danger. No weapons. Just strange glowing patterns and calm behavior. Leo picked up his notebook and began to sketch the symbols they saw on the aliens' legs. The lights had shapes that looked like spirals, stars, and flowing lines. They were not random, they had meaning. He looked at them again and realized something. The symbols were repeating, like names or signs of identity. This might be their way of showing who they are, Leo said. Like we use badges or ID cards. Mia nodded slowly. It made sense now. The dress lifting was not something rude or wild to them. It was a gesture of openness, of truth. They were not hiding anything. They were saying, "This is me." The aliens moved aside and made a path between them. It looked like an invitation, a welcome. A gentle push to move forward, and Seymour Commander Ray looked at his team. He gave a silent nod. They all began to walk slowly through the path made by the aliens. As they passed, some of the aliens repeated the gesture again. A quick lift. A soft glow. A calm stare. Ben kept his eyes up, staring at the trees. Mia smiled nervously. Leo kept drawing the symbols. Ray kept walking forward with steady steps. They reached a clearing where a small structure stood. It looked like a building made from soft stone and plant fiber. The aliens pointed to the structure and stepped back. The humans walked inside. There was no furniture, no screens, no lights. Only smooth floor and glowing vines along the walls. In the center was a round table made of crystal. On it lay a bowl filled with glowing dust. Mia moved closer. She touched the dust gently. The glow spread across the table and formed shapes in the air. The same symbols again, floating above them. Leo gasped. "They're trying to talk. This is their language." Commander Ray looked back toward the entrance. The alien females stood outside, watching with calm smiles whatever had just happened. One thing was clear: these aliens meant no harm. Their culture was just different, very different, but peaceful, and it had only just begun. Lost in translation, the crew returned to the ship with silent steps and full minds. No one spoke much on the walk back. Everyone tried to understand what had just happened. The strange greeting, the glowing marks, the soft laughs of the aliens. It all felt real, and yet not real at the same time. Inside the ship, the lights hummed. Gently, Commander Ray sat at the center table, looking over the footage from Leo's scanner. The symbols on the alien bodies glowed on the screen with bright color and moving light. They were not random shapes. Each line flowed into another with a pattern that spoke of meaning and design. Leo leaned forward and pointed to one of the symbols. His voice was low but filled with interest. He said this symbol came up again and again. It might be a word or a name or something like a family sign. He said these patterns might be how the aliens introduced themselves. Instead of words, they used living marks. Mia walked across the room and placed her hand on the table. She said the energy from the dust in the building felt alive. It responded to her touch. She believed the aliens had a way of reading thoughts or emotions through light and shape. She said maybe they did not speak with voices like humans. Maybe their way was full of light movement and feeling. Ben leaned on the wall with his arms crossed. He gave a small nod. Then he said something that made the room pause. He said the dress lifting was strange for humans, but maybe for them it was pure tradition. Something normal. Something old and sacred. He said it was no different than humans offering a handshake or salute. Commander Ray stood up. He said they would return tomorrow, this time with more understanding and more care. He told Leo to prepare a few basic shapes to show. He said if the aliens use shapes and symbols, then humans should try to speak that way too. The next morning came with soft light across the sky. The plants around the landing zone swayed gently. The crew stepped outside again, this time carrying a small case filled with drawn symbols and color markers. They hoped this time the greeting would feel more natural, less strange, less shocking. As they walked toward the village, the same group of alien females appeared. Their movements were slow and graceful. Their robes moved like smooth waves. The crew stopped and gave a light bow, hoping to show respect. The aliens looked at each other again. Then they smiled and repeated the same greeting as before. The dresses lifted, the glowing marks appeared. The humans stayed calm this time. Mia gave a light smile and raised her hand again. She pointed to her own arm, then pulled out a symbol card and showed it to the alien in front of her. The alien stepped closer and studied the card with glowing eyes. Then she reached forward and touched the card. Light flowed from her finger into the paper, and the shape began to glow. Everyone took a small step back in surprise. The alien smiled again and touched Mia's arm. A soft light mark appeared on Mia's skin. Mia gasped gently. The mark felt warm, not painful, just warm and alive. She looked at Leo, who stood still watching. Every detail. He said the mark might be a reply or a shared connection. A way of saying welcome in their language. The alien stepped back and another female came forward. She touched her own robe slowly and lifted it with both hands. This time she added a small dance with her arms and body. It looked like a mix of art and emotion. The humans watched without panic. Ben kept his head turned, but his eyes peeked once or twice. Mia repeated her gesture and gave the new alien a different shape from the card set. The same light glow happened. The alien nodded and drew a shape in the air with her finger. The shape stayed floating like soft fire. Commander Ray stepped forward. He placed his hand on his chest and gave a respectful nod again. The aliens all lifted their hands and returned the nod. There was no fear, no threat, no tension. Just peace. The crew followed the aliens back to the same building. Inside, the glowing dust waited again. This time the crew sat around the table. Leo placed a clear board on the surface and began drawing the symbols he had learned. The dust responded and glowed brighter with each line. One of the alien females sat across from him. She touched the board and added her own line. Together, they created a new shape, a mix of human and alien thought. Mia watched with wide eyes. She said this was more than language. This was a bond. Outside the building, more aliens gathered. Some carried small bowls with fruit-like shapes. Others brought soft cloth and strange stones that gave off heat. They were offering gifts, a sign of peace, a sign of trust. Ben stepped outside and took one of the stones. It felt warm and smooth in his hand. The alien who gave it to him smiled and lifted her dress again, just slightly this time. The glow on her leg matched the stone in his hand. Ben laughed quietly. He said maybe this stone meant friendship or thanks. Leo turned to Commander Ray. He said this culture was deep and old and full of meaning. He said it might take years to understand all the ways they share feeling and thought, but today they had taken a big step. The aliens were not hiding anything. They came with open hearts and glowing truth. Commander Ray looked around at the scene. The peaceful aliens, the glowing lights, the soft sound of welcome. He felt proud of his team. He said they were lucky to be the first. Lucky to see a new way of life. Lucky to meet beings who welcomed strangers not with weapons, but with light and tradition. As the day came to an end, the crew walked back to the ship with new gifts and new marks on their skin. The stars above alluring began to appear one by one, and the team knew the story of this world had only just begun. Cultural crash course. Next day came with golden light rising across alluring sky. The crew of Nova Ray gathered near the ship once again, their eyes full of curiosity, their hearts steady with purpose. The first contact had opened a door they never thought they would walk through. Now it was time to learn more, to understand more, to connect with the world in front of them. Commander Ray gave simple orders. He told the team to stay calm, observe everything, ask questions if needed, but avoid any actions that might cause confusion or disrespect. He reminded everyone that they were guests, not rulers, not teachers, only guests in a land older than their knowledge. Mia carried a new scanner built to read energy patterns from living objects. She hoped to learn the meaning behind the glowing marks and the strange dust that reacted to touch and thought. Leo brought a full set of symbol cards along with a blank board for shared writing. Ben carried nothing but a quiet mind and a hidden smile, ready for more surprises. As they walked toward the village again, the alien females appeared in rows, their robes swaying like waves, their glowing eyes calm and warm. This time there was no surprise, no sudden lifting, no sharp reaction. The humans had seen the custom before, and now they understood its meaning. One alien stepped forward and lifted her robe, slowly revealing a bright blue spiral on her leg. The mark pulsed with soft light as if alive. Mia stepped forward and placed her hand on her chest, then pointed to her own mark from yesterday. The alien nodded gently and touched her arm again, adding a small glowing line next to the first one. Leo whispered that the line might mean, "Progress, a connection that grows each time they meet." He said the aliens were not just greeting, they were building relationships one layer at a time inside the village. The humans were invited to sit near a circular platform where symbols floated in the air like drifting leaves. The aliens began a ceremony without sound, only movement and light. They danced in slow steps, lifted their robes in rhythm, showing their glowing patterns like a living message. Some added lines to their marks as they danced, making each one brighter and more detailed. Mia watched with full focus. She whispered that the glow was not just for display. It changed with emotion, it responded to feeling. She believed the symbols acted like memory marks, keeping records of events and feelings through light instead of words. One alien touched Mia's arm again and led her to a small pool of liquid light. The surface was calm and reflective, but when Mia touched it with her finger, the water shifted into shapes. Spirals, stars, waves, and lines moved across the surface. The alien smiled and placed her hand in the pool too. Their patterns blended, forming a shared shape between them. Mia turned to Leo. She said this was their way of speaking, not with mouths, but with symbols, energy, memory, and movement. She called it a language of light. Commander Ray stood near the edge of the platform, watching everything closely. He respected the silence, the grace, the strange calm that filled the air. He could feel the peace in this place, but he also felt the weight of responsibility. Earth Command had sent a message earlier warning the team to avoid deep interaction until full translation was complete. They were not supposed to join rituals or accept marks without approval. Ben stood near a group of younger aliens who laughed and moved in quick steps. One of them lifted her robe too high by accident, revealing a long line of glowing shapes that made no sense to Ben. He quickly turned his head and raised his hands. He said he meant no harm, he was just surprised the group stopped laughing. The air changed. The aliens grew silent and looked at each other. Their marks dimmed for a moment. One of the elder aliens stepped forward and spoke in a deep, silent wave of light. Her body glowed from within, her mark expanded across her robe like a shining river. Leo moved forward and tried to explain. He used symbols drawn in the air with his light pen. He said Ben did not mean disrespect. He said humans do not look at bodies in the same way. He drew shapes for trust, for mistake, for peace. The elder paused. Her mark pulsed slowly, then returned to normal light. She gave a single nod. The younger aliens began to laugh again, though softer than before. The tension melted away like morning fog. Mia walked over and spoke with quiet care. She said humans have eyes that see body and emotion at the same time. She said sometimes they feel shame or discomfort when they see what they are not used to. She asked if the aliens had shame or privacy. One alien female stepped forward. Her eyes glowed bright, her robe moved aside again. Her mark had many layers, some old, some new. She placed her hand on her chest, then touched her head, then drew a circle in the air. Leo translated this as truth, no shame, all open, always. Commander Ray nodded slowly. He said this culture is built on pure honesty. No secrets, no shame. Everything is shared, even emotion, even memory, even self. He said maybe that is why they greet with open body and open light. Mia asked if they ever hide anything. The alien answered by drawing a blank shape in the dust, then wiping it away. The meaning was clear. To hide something was to erase it, to kill. The truth. Ben stood quietly and whispered that this was the opposite of Earth. On Earth, people hide thoughts, cover feelings, wear masks. These aliens lived with hearts open and minds clean. Fade team returned to the ship at night. Each one marked with new shapes, new ideas, new questions. The stars above Alluring seemed closer than before, as if watching with interest inside the ship. Commander Ray wrote his report for Earth. He said the aliens were peaceful, honest, and open beyond anything humans had seen. He said the crew was safe, but warned that the culture was very different. He ended with a note that said contact was successful, but required deep understanding. As he closed his report, he looked at the marks on his own arm, glowing softly in the dark. He smiled not because it was funny, but because it was real. The misunderstanding morning arrived on Alaran, with skies painted in soft orange and gold. The forest shimmered with gentle light, and strange flying creatures floated like leaves in the wind. The crew of Nova Ray gathered outside once more, their eyes focused, their minds filled with purpose. The connection with the aliens had grown, but every step forward came with new weight. New responsibility. Commander Ray checked the surface log, then turned toward Leo and Mia. He reminded them that trust was a bridge made from both sides. One mistake could shake the balance. Mia nodded while holding her scanner close. She had spent most of the night studying the marks on her arm and noticed something new. The symbol had grown not just in shape but in glow. She believed it was responding to her thoughts. Ben stood quietly near the ramp with his arms folded. His face showed calm, but inside he felt unsure. He respected the alien customs but still found it difficult to stay relaxed during the dress lifting ritual. He understood the meaning, but his mind still reacted like a human mind shaped by Earth culture, shaped by different rules. Team walked into the village once again. The alien females appeared with quiet steps and graceful movements. One by one they greeted the crew in their usual way, lifting their robes and showing the glowing symbols on their legs. The humans watched with steady eyes now, no panic, no surprise. Only focus. One alien stepped toward Ben with a warm smile and lifted her robe with a gentle motion. Her mark glowed in a deep green spiral, brighter than the others. She waited for a response. Ben gave a short nod, then quickly looked away, his face turning red. The alien tilted her head slightly. She stepped back without lifting her robe again. The other aliens looked toward her, then toward Ben. The light in their symbols began to flicker, less bright than before. Leo noticed the change. He walked forward and drew a peace symbol in the dust, then pointed toward Ben. He tried to explain that human eyes react without control. He said the human heart sometimes feels shame when faced with new things. He drew shapes for honesty and mistake, hoping the message was clear. The elder alien approached. Her mark glowed in gold and silver, lines flowing across her robe like a river. She stood tall and calm, but her eyes looked deeper this time, more serious. More curious. Mia stepped forward and spoke with care. She placed her hand on her own chest, then on Ben's shoulder. She said Ben meant no harm. She said he was learning. She said trust takes time, and each heart has its own speed. The elder listened without sound. Then she lifted her hand and touched the ground. A circle of light formed around her feet. One by one, the alien stepped back, creating space around her. She moved toward the glowing pool and made a single motion with her hand. The dust rose from the pool, forming a shape in the air. It showed two figures, one human, one alien, standing apart. Then a line connected them. But the line was weak, shaking, as if uncertain. The meaning was clear. There was a break in the flow of trust. Commander Ray walked forward. He placed both hands in front of him, palms open. He bowed low, showing respect. Then he pointed to his team and drew a wide circle in the dust. He added stars around the circle, then a small fire in the center. Leo translated the symbols aloud. He said the circle meant unity, the stars meant shared space, and the fire meant shared spirit. He said the commander's message was simple. We are one, but still learning. The elder watched for a long moment, then touched the floating dust again. The shapes changed. The two figures now stood closer. The line between them grew stronger, brighter, more stable. She nodded once, then stepped back. The aliens began to lift their robes again, but slower this time. Their symbols still glowed, but with a softer light. The laughter was gone, but the peace had returned. Mia turned to Ben and whispered gently. She told him not to feel shame. She said even in the heart of respect mistakes can happen. She said what matters is how we fix them. Ben nodded slowly. He stepped forward this time and gave a deep, respectful bow. He looked toward the alien who had stepped back earlier. She stepped forward again, her smile small but present. She lifted her robe once more and touched her glowing symbol. Then she reached out and placed her hand on Ben's arm. A soft line of light appeared on his skin, glowing for a short moment before fading. A sign of forgiveness. A bridge repaired later that day, the crew was invited to join a new ceremony, one they had not seen before. The aliens gathered in a wide circle around a central platform made of crystal and roots. In the middle stood a bowl filled with the same glowing dust. Each alien stepped forward one at a time, lifted their robe, and placed their hand in the dust. Then they drew their mark in the air and watched it float above them. Mia understood the meaning. It was a sharing ritual. Each alien showing their full self, their history, their name, their truth. The elder looked toward the crew. She made a motion with her hand inviting them to do the same. Mia looked at her team, then stepped forward. She reached into the dust and drew a shape, a mix of human and alien lines. She added the mark she had been given and shaped a symbol of growth. The symbol rose above her, glowing bright and warm. The aliens gave a soft sound of approval, a kind of music made from light and breath. Leo followed and drew a pattern of words mixed with peace signs. Commander Ray drew a symbol of the Nova Ray ship and the path that brought them here. Then all eyes turned to Ben. He stepped forward slowly. His hands shook, but his heart was steady now. He reached into the dust and drew a small shape with simple lines. It showed a figure standing with hands open and a heart, glowing bright. His symbol floated above him, not the biggest, not the brightest, but true. The aliens all lifted their robes together, glowing marks shining across the space. Trust had returned. The message, the son of Alarin, began to rise once again, its light spreading slowly across the wide green fields and glowing trees. The crew of Nova Ray stood near the edge of the village where the air felt warm and silent. The long journey that began with surprise and confusion had now reached a point of peace, understanding, and respect. Mia looked at the soft glowing marks on her arm, each one placed by an alien during a moment of connection. These were not just symbols. They were signs of trust, moments of learning, proof that two very different beings could share the same feeling without words. Commander Ray stood near the crystal table where the dust still waited, calm and glowing. He watched as the aliens prepared for something new. A final ceremony, one they called the Shared Light. Leo explained what the elder had told him earlier. The shared light was a way of sealing bonds between visitors and the people of Alarin. It was not something given to all, only to those who proved they could walk with open heart and silent strength. Ben stood with quiet eyes and calm hands. He was no longer tense, no longer unsure. The mistake he made had become a bridge, not a wall. The alien who once stepped back from him now stood beside him, her glowing spiral mark pulsing gently with soft light. The ceremony began without sound. One by one, the aliens gathered in a wide circle around a tall tree covered in glowing vines. They lifted their robes, slowly showing their marks in full. The colors mixed in the air, forming waves of blue, gold, green, and silver. The air itself seemed to breathe with light. Mia stepped into the circle first. She placed her hand on her chest, then reached out toward the nearest alien. A mark appeared between them, floating in the air like a living star. Leo followed, drawing the pattern in the dust and watching it rise into the sky. The dust reacted with joy, forming new shapes in response. Then came Commander Ray. He drew the path of the ship, the stars they crossed the moment they landed, the day they met truth in a strange place. Ben stepped forward last. He placed his palm on the ground and closed his eyes. He drew nothing, but the shape appeared by itself. It was made from memory, emotion, and courage. The aliens stepped closer, surrounding the humans. The elder raised both arms high. A beam of light shot into the sky from the center of the circle. The beam carried symbols from all sides, mixed and flowing in one stream. The message was simple but strong. We have shared light. The ground below them began to glow. The dust spread into the air, forming pictures of the past days. The first greeting, the dance, the misunderstanding, the healing. Every step of their journey appeared around them like living memory. Mia felt her chest grow warm. She looked at the aliens and saw no strangers, no danger, no fear. Only friends. Leo whispered softly that this moment would never be forgotten, not by them, not by history. Ben laughed gently and said now he finally understood. The greeting was never wild or rude. It was pure, a gift from a culture that believed nothing should be hidden. Commander Ray turned toward the elder and bowed deeply. He said they were honored to be part of this world, even for a short time. He said they would carry this story with them beyond stars and silence. The elder walked forward holding a crystal in her hand. It was small, round, and glowing from within. She gave it to Mia without words. The crystal pulsed once as it touched her skin, then became still. Leo translated what the elder meant. The crystal holds shared memory. It records thought without sound and feeling without touch. It is a living message. Mia held the crystal close. She said she would protect it and share its meaning with Earth. She said it would help others understand this world and its truth. The aliens lowered their arms. The light faded gently. The marks on their bodies dimmed but did not disappear. They returned to their calm state, their silent grace. The humans began to walk back to the ship. The village behind them stayed quiet but alive. Every step they took felt like part of something greater than themselves. Inside the Nova Ray, the systems powered up. Lights blinked and engines hummed. Commander Ray recorded his final law. He said first contact had been made not through language or machines but through trust, honesty, and a strange yet beautiful tradition. He said the crew was safe, the mission was a success, and the connection was real. He paused, then added one last line. Some stories cannot be explained with science or reports. Some can only be felt. The ship rose into the sky, leaving behind the glowing forests and silver mountains of Alluring. The crew stood near the windows watching as the planet grew smaller behind them. Mia still held the crystal. Leo looked at the marks on his arm. Ben smiled without words. Commander Ray closed his eyes for a moment and remembered the first time those robes lifted in greeting. What began as shock became knowledge. What began as laughter became learning. What began as strange became sacred, and so the story of the first human visit to Alluring came to an end, not with fear, not with failure, but with light. The end.